It is time for another 1-minute market update where we talk about the two things that you should care about most as a homeowner or a potential homeowner. That is, how much is your home worth today compared to what it was yesterday, and how long would it take to sell in today's market. Now, we are in June now, so of course we are looking at stats from May. Now, I'm very much looking forward to the day where I can hop on here and tell you that prices have bottomed, we're on the way up, but today is unfortunately not that day. But what we are seeing, especially with detached homes, is the decline has really slowed down. I mentioned it in last month's video, but the price slump, the price decline in detached homes has really started to slow. We're not seeing the 2, 3, 4% drops in most cases anyway, like we were last year and even the year before. So does that mean we are about to see prices go up? No, I don't think so. We're, I think, still quite a ways away from that, but it at least means that you're not losing as much money anymore, so that's a good thing. What we are definitely still seeing though is very slow sales, a low number of transactions. We're down about 4% from May last year, and remember that last year was the slowest year on record for something like 2 decades, if I remember correctly. So yeah, the sales are slow. There are still certain homes that do end up selling pretty quickly. They get a ton of interest when they hit the market. We'll talk about what those homes are in a little bit, because first we're going to jump into some numbers. If you've been watching these videos for a while, you'll know that I added an extra stat to the mix, and that is how many dollars of value on average homes have gone down in the given areas. I'm not actually going to say the numbers anymore because this video it just ends up being way too long, but they're going to be down in the box down here, so you can check them out for yourself, and I'm just going to stick to the percentages. So once again, starting off with detached homes in Burnaby, you are up 0.2% from last month, but still down 8.6% from this time last year. New West, you are down 1.8% from last month and down 8.1% from last year. Coquitlam, you're up 1.1% from last month and down 5.7% from last year. Port Moody, you're up 0.2% from last month, but still down 5.5% from last year. Port Coquitlam, you are down 0.5% from last month and down 6.2% from last year. Maple Ridge, you are down 2.1% from last month and down 6.3% from last year. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are down 0.2% from last month and down 6.5% from last year. As always, if you find this kind of thing helpful, be sure to click those buttons down there that YouTube wants you to click, and better yet, share this with somebody who might also find this kind of information useful. Would really appreciate it. Jumping into townhomes now, starting off once again in Burnaby, you are down 2.2% from last month and down 4.7% from last year. New West, you are down 1% from last month and down 6.5% from last year. Coquitlam, you are up 1.5% from last month, but still down 5.1% from last year. Port Moody, you're up 2.2% from last month, but still down 3.2% from last year. Port Moody actually not doing so bad. Port Coquitlam, you are down 1.3% from last month and down 7.1% from last year. Maple Ridge, you're up 0.5% from last month and down 7.8% from last year. Pitt Meadows, you are down 1.8% from last month and down 5.5% from last year. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that there are still some kinds of homes that are getting a lot of attention when they hit the market. And the proof of that is the fact that we've been in multiple offers on some of these properties a couple of times this year. Now, the kinds of homes that are getting attention like this, there's two. The one kind is something that's quite unique, but unique and desirable, not unique and weird. For example, there is a detached house in Port Coquitlam whose address I'm not going to provide you, but it's under $900,000 last time I checked, and it's been on the market for months and months and months. And the reason being is that it's a little strange. It's you could call it a unique property, but it's unique in a way that not a lot of people are going to want, and it's going to take a lot of work to get it from where it is right now to a condition that most people would want to see it in, for something that they're going to live in anyway. Now, when I say unique and desirable, I mean something that's been really tastefully renovated by somebody who really knows what they're doing, Not somebody that's just done the sort of like bland, everything neutral sort of touch-up renovation kind of work. It's not that there's anything wrong with neutral, it's just that it by definition, it's neutral. It's supposed to appeal to the most amount of people, but nobody's really gonna like love it. So those unique and really desirable homes, they tend to get a lot of attention when they go up on the market. Now, the other thing that is catching a lot of attention is homes that are, first of all, priced well, but also homes that people can live in long term. What people are not doing right now is thinking short term when it comes to their housing. They're thinking, at least 3, but more likely 5 to 7 years out. So if you have a home that's priced properly and is a home that could benefit somebody for, the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years, that's a home that's going to get pretty good attention when it hits the market. Anyway, let's jump into condos now. Starting off once again in Burnaby, you are down 1.3% from last month and down 7.3% from last year. New West, you're down 0.2% from last month and down 8.2% from last year. Coquitlam, you're down 1% from last month and down 8.8% from last year. Port Moody, you are down 0.1% from last month and down 5.7% from last year. Port Coquitlam, you are down 0.2% from last month and down 8.3% from last year. Maple Ridge, you are net equal with last month, but you're still down 9.5% from last year. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are up 0.1% from last month and down 9.7% from last year. So while the losses in condos aren't as crazy as they have been in the past, they are still seeing a fair bit of downward pressure basically across the board. Unlike detached homes, like I was mentioning earlier, that have kind of bottomed out, sort of. At least things have slowed down a little bit for them. An interesting thing to note, and this is something that came up a lot in podcasts and news articles and stuff like that last year and the beginning of this year, a lot of people were talking about the mortgage renewal wave, myself included. And the thought is that because there was a large number of mortgages that were going to turn over sort of midway through the year, about this time right now where we are today in June, and because a lot of those mortgages were going to be turning over at a higher interest rate, that we would see a larger number of distressed sales. Or in other words, sales that, the person normally wouldn't be actually wanting to sell, but they're in a situation where they can't make their mortgage payments. So either the bank is foreclosing on them or they're just electing to make them move ahead of time and, they have to sell rather than being foreclosed upon. Foreclosure sales have gone up in numbers, but it's not a staggering amount. And to be fair, it does take some time for the foreclosure process to happen. It's approximately a year, so we might not actually see the real full effects of this for a while. But the interesting thing is that, last year and at the beginning of this year, there was worry around the fact that this mortgage renewal wave was coming and we were going to see a massive amount of homes hit the market from sellers that really needed to sell. We're not really seeing inventories spike like you would expect, and we're not seeing prices just absolutely plummet like it was predicted or talked about anyway. But of course, there's about 1,000 other things going on in the news and in the economy that affect home prices, people's decisions. So, this mortgage renewal wave thing might have been nothing, but there are lots and lots of other things going on that will certainly affect people's decisions, like war in Iran, oil prices, the general economy, possibly getting laid off by AI, all sorts of things. All right, and last but not least, we are looking at days on market, or how long a home is taking to sell in today's market. Burnaby, you are sitting at 24 days, you're up just a little bit from last month. New West, you're sitting at 21 days, down a little bit from last month. Coquitlam, you're sitting at 19, up just a smidge from last month. Port Moody, you are sitting at 16 days, again, down a little bit from last month. Port Coquitlam, you're sitting at 15 days, a pretty big drop from last month. Maple Ridge, you're sitting at 22, pretty close to last month as well. And finally, Pitt Meadows, you are sitting at 23 days on market, which is a pretty significant increase from last month. If you are in a situation where you are thinking about making a move, whether it's a purchase, a sale, or something else in between, there is a link in the description down below. You can book a time to chat with us. We will give you good, honest, solid advice. We're not here trying to sell you anything. We're just here to provide good advice and good guidance to people who want to buy and sell homes. If that sounds like you, click the link, book a time to chat. I'm Angelo with the Atlas Group. That is enough real estate for today. I'll see you in the next one.